Hi, everybody. I wanted to go live earlier, but of course, my youngest isn't sleeping, and she still isn't, but I didn't want to wait anymore. I'll wait a few minutes and see if if we have some viewers. I think that we can all agree that the Lindsey Clancy trial has a lot of inconsistencies, um, and a lot of questions. And it brings to light many issues, the issues of postpartum, the issues of mental health, um, and more importantly, the issues of how things can appear one way but can certainly be another. Hard to hear me? You know what? Let me try this. Can you hear me better now? I might have to restart. You know what? I'm going to restart this. Oh, you can hear me better? Okay. So, my take on the Lindsey Clancy case is there's a lot of questions. There are a lot of inconsistencies. And I think that there's a missing framework of can you guys hear the kids? There's a missing framework of, in my opinion, of neglect based upon many factors. The medical field, the husband. I mean, to me, it's quite obvious. And I have a lot of things swirling around in my mind. There's a lot of things that are being said. And my opinion, again, is that I think that the husband was trying to get out of that marriage. And at minimum, he was neglectful in his approach to the situation. And I mean, that we're going based on facts here. And the fact is, he knew that based upon the narrative that was being purported at the time, that it was dangerous to leave those kids with what was being reported. And I think that if we looked at it through the lens of, let's say, hypothetically, he was trying to make it worse. And my feeling is it's on the basis of he was just sick of continuously going through it. The first baby, you know, she had, well, I'm not saying she had. The way that it's being framed is that she had anxiety about returning to work, this, that, and the other, and perhaps he didn't want that life anymore. That's my feeling. And I don't think he was helping the situation. I think he was purposefully pushing things in a certain direction. There's many things that don't make sense. If she was timing things out, why the basement? Why so much movement? Do you get what I'm saying? I don't have a first-hand basis of psychosis, But I would imagine that if she was timing things out, let's say, that she would take the road, the path of least resistance. Does that make sense? It just seems contrived. If you look at other cases of that type of mental state, it's not, I don't know, just, there's too many questions. And I think that they'll get answers. When you have somebody in your life that is looking, let's say, for a way out, maybe, and that's the easiest button to push, they're going to push it. So I think that Lindsey didn't understand what was going on mentally, plus all of the medications. And I have a feeling that the husband was probably looking for a way out. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to gather my thoughts, but like I said, the kids are up, so I'm listening here, and it's just the way my brain works. And then Freya's in the other room, so let me think about what I was thinking about right before I came on here. I have these true crime cards that I'm going to shuffle around while I think about this. I think Lindsey knew something was not right, and she couldn't put her finger on it. And let's say, hypothetically, that the husband was sociopathic. Under that auspice, that umbrella, that fog, let's say, if that was the case, combined with perhaps postpartum, and then the medicine on top of it, there would be a lot of things that could and couldn't happen. But number one on that list would probably be memory loss. Because let's say the husband was having an affair or doing things or wanting to do things completely on his own, because there's evidence to point to that. He wanted to go on ski trips, and he took trips to do various things and whatever. My point is that he's going to, even if it's not conscious, further that type of mentality, because he's not going to be forthcoming about why or what. Because a husband, for the most part, especially in that context, I would think would want to make sure that his family, especially a family of 3 small children under 5, are okay and safe and loved and healthy. And perhaps because she has a kind and good heart, she couldn't understand what was going on, because her heart was saying something's not right here, but her mind was being told something completely different. And then if we jump forward to, let's go with some of the theories about, okay, she didn't do it, he did, and then he made her think that, okay? If there was trauma to her body, that's going to cause memory. It's going to have an effect on her memory, because it's traumatic to her. Now combine it with, she goes to the hospital. I haven't read enough to tell you for fact or not, that she, Lindsey, didn't know at first that the children, had passed. That in itself, let's say she was in a state of psychosis and she did it. That in itself, the realization of that is going to cause another big, huge chunk of memory loss. And I know this from, I'm marrying this with my own experience after my brother was murdered, and it literally feels like you get hit by a 2x4. But now, flipping that back and superimposing over her situation, all of those things combined, that woman didn't know if she went up, down, left, right, out, like she does. It doesn't mean she will always not know. It just means that there's a lot of other factors that need to go into this, and it just looks like there's too many questions. Too many questions. How did she tell, how would she say that he, I don't know. There's just too many questions. Because the pieces don't add up. There's not a proper seam. And those questions need to be answered because those children deserve justice. The proper justice. And at minimum, it looks like the dad was negligent. And I'll tell you, it just seems, I keep wanting to say contrived, so I'm going to say it. It just seems contrived in one way or another. The way he supposedly said to 911 when he found the kids, what he said, she, you know, it just strikes me as contrived. It strikes me as not placed, but scripted. Almost. And it bothers me. And again, could it be something different? Perhaps. But generally, I go with my feeling. My gut feeling says it's just something not right. So, I think we'll get answers because the trial, there's just too many questions, and every mom who's been through something like that in America seems to be tuned in and on it like a haunted. So generally those types of waves carry a lot of power. So again, it just seems very plotted all around. And then if we speak about trauma on the other end, I don't know. It seems that the husband moved on pretty quickly to me. And granted, yes, that does happen sometimes. But what about the trust issue? I don't know. 3 small children under 5 years old. I would imagine that it would be very difficult to trust anybody so soon after that. It just, again, seems contrived, scripted to me. Homicide, revenge, runaway. And you know, it makes me think, let's say the husband, hypothetically, was a sociopath. Sociopaths do things that people with good hearts just can't possibly imagine. It's much easier to instigate or push a button of rage in somebody with a good heart than it is for them to understand why somebody who's sociopathic would do such a thing. You know? Crime of passion. Secret imprisonment. Egoism. Regret. And what does that make me think? Presently. Yeah, it looks like the husband's regretting being egotistical and thinking he could get away with something, some type of secret, crime of passion. That's what fell out of the deck. And that was on the topic of crime of passion. So there's that. And that's probably because the attorney for Lindsey Clancy knows a lot. How do I want to say this? He's going to slow leak it out. Because see, people that are egotistical and those who operate upon that sociopathic wavelength, let's say, if you allow them to think that you are aloof to the situation, let's say, or don't know, you just go along with whatever, they'll just continue to make blind mistakes, thinking that they're not being seen. And those that have a lot of experience in that type of thing, trial attorneys and such, will do certain things. I don't want to say too much on that note. I'm just saying that it only takes one little thing like, hey, you know, it reminds me of Columbo a little bit. Hey, you know, how about that email you sent, or how about that link you clicked? Bucko, what's up with that? It's like a little flick. Like, I didn't see you, I saw you. That type of thing. And that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of that slow, like, pressurized sweat. Like, like, if you saw that and you're only hinting to it, what else you got up in there? Yeah, there's discovery, but again, people that operate strictly from that mental aspect and don't operate from here, they make stupid mistakes because they're not really in it to do the right thing, let's say. So they're one track minded, one way. And if everything looks to be along a certain line, they'll just continue to make stupid mistakes if you let them. And I just think that looked through the lens of from a standpoint of wanting to do the right thing, that all the key pieces of information look different. I've seen some posts about the purported statements by Lindsey in the civil suit, and I swear to you, it sounded contrived, and I mean beyond contrived, like AI, like somebody hit up AI and wrote it up. It just, I don't know. And that's what it reminded me of. And again, that also she's going to keep barking if you say something. Again, that also brings up, I don't know, all the civil suits by the husband as well, and all the money, like, anyway. There's something to do with a ski trip. New Hampshire. Something.
Mother.
Yes. Go ahead, baby. Go ahead. There's other things I'm saying. I would think with the attention that the trial is getting, that there's probably no way out, let's say, if the husband had something to do with it. Let's see. And something to do with life insurance. You know what the bottom line is I just have this feeling like, I feel like I'm watching like Columbo. It's inevitable. You know, it's like watching a Columbo special, right? I don't care if it was back in the day when you had to wait until 2 weeks later or whatever it was, a week later, prime time to watch the second half. It was getting solved. And it was getting solved properly. So, oh. It was getting solved. And that's what I'll say about that. But it was nice to see everybody. Wait, there's more. Huh. Look, can't make this up. That was face up. Let's see what's face down. And these came out before and I didn't say anything. So I'm not going to. I don't know. I think there might be some other skeletons in the closet, perhaps on the husband's side of the family, I'll say. I'm not going to get into it because it's about the children. It's not about anybody else. And like I said, I think that it's going to come out no matter what in this day and age. But again, those with inflated egos think that they can just do things and get away with it. But it's pretty difficult these days, even if you're tech savvy, to finagle that bagel. You know why? Because technology in that respect has been around long enough that there's a lot of tech savvy people. So that ladder, you know, it's pretty tall. Anyway, guys. Yeah, again, something to do with skiing. Meeting up, going skiing. So my feeling is that this was going on. It was an affair, like 6 months prior. It started 6 months prior to this. 6 months. He did.
No.
And I think he was trying to make her think that she was not processing information properly. Like, you know, it reminds me of back in the day when you had a man that cheated on you or something. No, you're crazy, that type of thing. But let's say softer. Not softer. Less dramatic. But more strategic. Yeah. He was telling her she was out there, see? You're crazy. I wouldn't do that. 3 small children. 3 small children. A wife who's dedicated to making sure she's healthy to take care of herself so she can take care of 3 small children. Trying incessantly, feverishly. Revenge. Mountains. Family.
You're dead. Oh my god. Okay.
Look at that.
I'm redoing.
New family. 1 baby. It reminds me of, you don't want to do you want to act like this, then I'm just going to do this. And again, hypothetically, if somebody was sociopathic, let's say, they would purposely push that button. Affair.
Yeah.
Dismemberment. Lindsey was figuring it out, and he was saying no, no, no.
Where'd you go?
So he just made her look like,
They're gonna die.
oh, poor me. I do everything. I go to work. I provide. We do takeout. Poor me.
The circle is shrinking.
That's my feeling. And she tried everything in her power. Oh, that's what I was thinking about earlier, and I'm glad that's why I started chuckling. So, I would think, or not, I would think, my feeling is, in reference to her diary entries about sleep training the baby, that would have been one of the points that the husband used. Well, you're always with the baby, and the baby's in bed with us. Want to make a bet? So she consulted the doctor, because Lindsey wanted to be a good wife, and she also wanted connection with her husband, and she just didn't understand what was going on. And pushing that, yeah, crazy button.
Stop spinning. Hi.
That would be an assassination of character,
Good.
making somebody feel like, oh, look. Making someone feel like their foundation is flimsy, mentally speaking, that
Yeah,
what they're seeing, sensing, reading, putting together isn't reality. Oh.
a laser. Did you die? Frick.
And that makes complete sense to me. Why else would she want to sleep train the baby? In the journal entry, she said she felt like it was abusive to the child because she was going against what she felt, going against herself, betraying herself,
No, someone died from it.
and listening to a doctor. And I'm not saying the doctor was right or wrong. I'm saying we're going to go back to how she felt as a mom, which is an intrinsic right to all of us as real mothers, right? She was betraying herself, but why? What makes most sense? Well, it makes sense to me that the husband was like, the baby's always in the bed, and we don't have intimate time together, and this and that. But again, let's flash forward. Well, why wouldn't Lindsey say that? First of all, Lindsey's been traumatized in so many complex ways, number one. Number two, she probably, and I don't want to assume, believes that this is what she did, even if she can't remember it, let's say. So she's not, in her mind, she's been convinced that
Oh, I got force field.
it was, it's almost like she doesn't even focus on that. It doesn't matter to her. Because she's just trying, I think, to breathe. But if you look at the case as things come out through that lens, let's say, hypothetically, let's say he had that check written, cashed, and ready to go. All of those things make more sense, right? And maybe that question can be asked, well, why did you want to sleep train the baby then? Why did you even ask the doctor?
Real.
Perhaps she was trying to get more intimate time with her husband, and it just was being perpetuated as that being part of the problem. Then she tried to solve that part of the problem. Then what they do is they'll throw up another, all the while telling you, yeah, but no, that's not going on. What I heard was you're delusional. So perhaps that's what I'm hearing.
Oh my god, no!
Party hidden.
I died.
Well, he went and partied or whatever. Whatever that is to somebody, because everybody's party, I guess, is different, right? Or that also could be third party, hidden third party.
Yeah. Sure.
Anyway, this is about those 3 children and not Patrick. And yes, Lindsey, because she's on trial, But ultimately, still, it's those 3 children. And I don't care what way justice comes wrapped up. They deserve that. So that should be the focus. And I think that her attorney is already on to it. The other thing is this is becoming so, no, it's not common. But the knowledge about this type of parasitic, hypothetically, relationship, situation, people are waking up to the fact that this happens. So, let me see if there's anything final before we go on. I think that's the husband. I think he knows he's done. Cooked. Goose cooked. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great night. I'll be doing more lives. Oh. Some of these characters getting whooped in the legal proceedings, let's say. I told you, I just get that Columbo feeling, you know? Or Perry Mason. Like, oh, again. These, I don't want to say these cases, but seems to be a lot of lateral lines. With other types of cases, I think. And probably ones that don't get as much attention because of the way it is framed. My guides are saying this one was sloppy. Beach. And they said it's sloppy in the way it was handled, too. So, whatever... all right, again.
Can I use this because I have a bug bite and it really itches?
Sure.
Do I just spray it?
Yeah, but not too close. Yeah, let it dry. Just one spray. That's strange. So, Nixie, can you just chill for a second? So, I'm being drawn to Lindsay's injuries around her neck. A secret family, huh? How did she get those injuries? Something doesn't match up. Something doesn't match up. Her injuries, there's something about the discrepancy. And I'm not sure. I mean, there's been questions. People are questioning her body temperature and things, but there's something specifically about here. And something to do about locking the door. There's just things that don't make sense. There's things that don't make sense. If we looked at it through the lens of, let's say somebody did it to her, locked her in the room and assumed that she would and that's why the basement was so far, because it just wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have been, it wouldn't, almost like there was no other way to do it. There was no other way to do it, like, the whole thing doesn't make sense. In and out, in and out, in and out. The whole thing doesn't make sense. I feel like if I were a profiler, let's say for the FBI, and I looked at this situation and I looked at other situations, lesser known situations, and I said to myself, like, I'm itching my head, like, this doesn't make sense from that mental perspective. There's just a lot of questions. And again, I'm being pointed to the injury around the neck, the locked door. It just doesn't even make sense from the lens of if some... It makes more sense if you look at it as somebody wanted to do something and so somebody wouldn't see anything. But if she was in that state and she knew he wasn't there, like... And then taking the watch. That's all. I don't want to say minimum, but there's so many other things that just stand so far out to me. And again... Because if it was a situation where the husband was sociopathic and he just wanted a way out, let's say. and he wanted a way out, if you look at it through that lens, let's say, just take off what you think is assumed to be true, it makes a lot more sense. And again, those children deserve justice. Were they not supposed to have a third baby or something? Did she want the baby and he didn't? I'm not sure. I feel like it's getting too far deep, but it gives me that feeling of using the... I'm not sure. Like if a husband just didn't want that many kids, and I don't know. That's the feeling I get, you guys. So, again, answers are coming. I think there's a lot more connections than have been really publicly let out yet, behind the scenes. But trials tend to bring out a lot of information, and again, people talk about discovery, but it depends on what lens you look at it through. And there's all different types of questions. I'd like to know if they used AI to write up any of the hospital records at Beth Israel in particular, because I know they're good for it. I have first-hand experience with that, and it was a shit show. It was off the wall type thing. On the opposite note, so I can imagine that they would do the opposite as well. And I also know for a fact that they use AI to write up, like I think I just said that, to write up those notes, records, without permission. I also find it interesting that Lindsey was a labor and delivery nurse, and that the new wife is no OBGYN. I'm not saying for whatever reason, I just... Anyway, guys, I'm getting tired. I think there's more to the story, too. I think that Lindsey is probably going to shed some light on what was really going on behind closed doors, because burial was on the bottom, because it may be, it doesn't mean that it's lost forever, and in proper care, given the proper support, she'll be able to regain some of that mental clarity, and perhaps a lot more than some. But it's inevitable. And because her attorney is quite level-headed and wise, She'll feel a sense of security to be able to trust his input. So when he asks questions of the husband, like, oh, you clicked this link? Interesting. You make this phone call? Okay. I'm sure that he'll be able to reconstruct what most likely, in his professional opinion and wisdom, what happened. Sometimes it takes that type of support to be able to bring those things back out. Especially when, if, like I said, that's how the husband was and he was purposely pushing the envelope, now combine it with the actual trauma to her physicality and her heart and her mind post all of this. And not knowing what the, because before everything felt perhaps like, you know what, I don't really think my husband's husbanding over here. It doesn't feel husbandy, like, and he's always taking off, and got these, I just don't, and it's reversed to make her feel and projected back on her like something's wrong, and then she also has some hormonal stuff going on. I don't know, it just seems like, contrived. Anyway, I'm gonna get some sleep. Oh, I wanted strawberry shortcake, you guys. I forgot to make the biscuits. I can still do that. Have a great night, and I will be doing some more lives. I want to do one about Gannon, not too much, but because I don't want to feed that energy dump, energy drain, because that's really what she's doing, basically. And I'm not participating in that. So, have a great night, everybody, and see you soon.